I'll start by saying to everybody that is on the call already, thanks for joining. We really appreciate your time. And we at North Coast Medical are very excited to be sponsoring another webinar. This time, Darryl Short has joined us. He's both the inventor and the president of CarMed, and CarMed is the manufacturer of FEPSim. We've actually worked many trade shows together, which is why it might seem that we're very comfortable get together. We've also done a lot of virtual presentations like this together, because Darryl's got a nice little studio there that you'll see as we kind of go through this. I do want to just let everybody know that this is being recorded today, and this live webinar will turn into a pre-recorded webinar that will be available on our website probably within about a week. So a quick story before I hand over to Darryl. Greg Pitts is a consultant. He's a CHT and a consultant. He's a bit of a legend in the industry. And when he brought FEPSim to us originally, I think he was just kind of like, oh, this is a very interesting, kind of like product. And I would say he was quite neutral on it until he got a set. And he recently told us that not only he keeps on adding clinics, and I think he now has 4 sets at the 4 clinics he has, and he just opened a 5th clinic, and he's working on getting a set for his new clinic. And he's even saying that in some of his busier clinics, he's thinking about getting a 2nd set. So FEPSim has really become the workhorse of his clinics as far as, wrist and hand strengthening and range of motion. The patients love it. He said the therapists almost like fight over it. So before anything turns too gory, he's going to try to get a 2nd set for those clinics that need them. So without further delay, I will turn over to Darryl.
I'm still here.
Take it away, buddy.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming in and seeing us today. I'll give you a little bit of history. We'll go through what FEPSim can do for you and your clinic and your patients. And I'm quite excited to make this as interactive as possible. So welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. FEPSim actually started from the Glenrose Hospital, which is one of the largest rehab hospitals in Western Canada. It's the largest freestanding one. And the therapists came to us with a scope. They were looking to have something portable and lightweight. And first off, let's go through what FEPSim actually stands for. So motions of the wrist: flexion, extension, pronation, and supination. And it's simulating many tasks, which we'll get through today. And we've started creating these physical action books for you, and you'll see the digital one after this presentation. And we're looking forward to more and more opinions, advice, suggestions, solutions. Just want to make it as interactive as we can. So like I said before, this is all based on what the therapist wants. So we know how to make stuff, and so that's what we did. We started asking questions, figuring out what they wanted. Obviously, lightweight and portable is one of those biggest things, because a lot of the clinics that I've been to recently, they have these larger machines that are really expensive, sitting in a corner somewhere. And now when you want to do rehab sooner, you want to take the device, so take FEPSim to the bedside or to the wheelchair, or wherever you're going to be. We have to try and work around patients sometimes, right? So FEPSim enables us to do that. So with the interchangeable attachments, which I'll show you, you can see a whole myriad of those. The task that we were given was to create real world, real life simulations. So just the simple things of opening up a door, for instance, turning that doorknob can be a huge challenge for patients. And we wanted to simulate that so that they feel good, being able to do it and progressively increase the ability to strengthen, right? So that adjustable torque was really, really important. Being able to measure range of motion is another thing, and to be able to chart it. So both FEPSims have a protractor. There's also a built-in counter, so you can measure the number of repetitions on your exercise regime. The therapist did not want electronics, no batteries, no computer. They wanted something that was super easy to clean. Basically, pick it up, take it to where you need to be, and start making the patient's life a little bit easier and giving them some positivity. So we've been really fortunate. We've started the journey of getting some papers published about 4 years ago now. So FEPSim's been around for 5 years. We've made many, many iterations to the product. What we're selling with North Coast is actually the 5th iteration. So it's we've gone and solidified these two models, the horizontal and the vertical. And we've done the 3 papers, like I said before. We did one on how we're going to do the randomized protocol study. We did one on the quantitative study, which is coming out soon, and the qualitative one was done before that. So currently, FEPSim is found to increase grip strength. And in our public healthcare system in Canada, we've actually saved a lot of money on setup, tear down, and cleaning. So we're typically saving clinics tens of dollars per patient per setup. So you keep saving, sometimes people are seeing 12 patients, they could be saving, $600 a day just on cleanup. I never thought that would be something that had such a tangible outcome, but we're really happy to be a part of that. So, and the most important thing for patients and for therapists is the ability to chart. So where did I start from? So that baseline, and then where am I going to? So I've had some really cool exercises with some people that are wanting to go back to work, and there was never sort of a set deadline or set, once you've achieved this accomplishment, you're able to go back to work. But I'll tell you a cool story of how that's changed. All right, so we first started making FEPSim with a 50-inch pound resistance, and that was just way too much. So we're not trying to help Superman and Superwoman get stronger, or trying to help people that have zero to very little strength, right? So we want to make it easy for you to be able to get patients back. So we have the horizontal version here, which was originally developed for stroke patients, and you can see both sides or both shafts on there, and I'll show you how that goes. But we have a zero resistance feature, which allows you to turn the shaft with zero effort, and that's what I have it on now. So, and that can be adjusted with this gray button all the way forward and back. And you can go from that 0-inch pounds to 24-inch pounds with the horizontal. On the vertical model, same thing. I'll just move that in so you can see it. So vertical model, same thing. Same attachments will fit here as they will fit on here on the horizontal. Now with the vertical, we have the torque range from 4-inch pounds to 24-inch pounds. So it gives you a lot of different flexibility, different ways to do things, and I'll show you that. And here you can start seeing some of what we've started to do. We really want to mimic everyday tasks and perform them on the FEPSim in a controlled environment with a therapist so that we know that they're going to be healed correctly. So sports injuries, tennis playing, especially golf playing is another big one. Even something simple as riding a motorcycle. The gentleman in red there, you see, that's the typical roll up the what do they call that? Roll up the beach towel, I guess. Stick a weight on the bottom. But the nice thing with FEPSim now is we're actually able to start charting, and we have some data that we can pull off. So many different things. So for me, being in a manufacturing facility, we manufacture, design, build FEPSim and other types of products for every industry, to be honest. So I've got some people that really need to turn dials and buttons, and that top picture there you see right above the FEPSim is one of our older controllers. So we're adjusting the feed rate there, and it's really important for me to know that I have people that are able to perform the job if they've had an injury or if they're feeling weak or whatever the case is. So it's great to see these everyday examples, and I have some more for you. Chopping vegetables, if you can believe it or not. I'll show you that exercise. That's really cool. And we use the door lever for that. We also have a can opener. And again, those things are very, very important. And it's funny, like, if you don't have the ability to do those different types of tasks, it becomes very, very frustrating for patients, right? And this is probably one of my favorites, is we were asked to do some different types of tools to keep our, what's the word I'm looking for here? Our heavy duty mechanics and our machinists, keep them involved. Because typically what happens with rehab is we'll start rehab regime and then patients will get bored and then they won't come back. And that does a whole bunch of different things. So for me as a business owner, I want to make sure that people have finished their rehab and they're actually able to come back to work without me having to worry about if they're going to injure themselves again. So what we've done is we've taken some everyday tools and made it so that you can adjust the torque rating on here and actually perform the job as if you were doing it in real life. So let me just go down to the basement here real quick and grab a tool, and I can actually start using it as I'm going to work. I can take the FEPSim, put it anywhere I want, and then be able to simulate those tasks. Recently, I had the pleasure of going to Washington, D.C. with North Coast, and there was oh man, it was amazing to see all the different companies there and all the different people and therapists and ideas. And we had a gentleman that lost his fingers during an accident at work, and he's been trying to develop, not develop, but learn his new prosthetic for the last couple of years. And he came over to our bench, and you can see him on the left-hand side there, grabbed the wrench tool. So he just grabbed one of these guys, and he started actually using it with his fingers on FEPSim. And I set it up for him so that he could do about 10 inch-pounds. And he was super, super happy. And for me, the most surprising thing that he had said was while he was using his hands to manipulate the bolt accessory, he actually felt his muscle up here. And it's something that he really wanted to try and exercise and target all those muscles. And just one simple exercise on FEPSim, and he managed to use a muscle that he hadn't used in a very, very long time. So it's fantastic to see that. We love it. So each FEPSim comes with a bag. And the nice part about this is I can carry FEPSim wherever it needs to go, which is really cool. So lightweight and portable. We're about 15 pounds, I believe. I can actually lift it with one hand. Oh, let me try the one I broke. So this is my broken hand that I did on a snowboard accident. But let's go through the first FEPSim that we have. And I've got one of these really cool adjustable desks. So I'll bring the FEPSim up here so you can see it. So nice and lightweight and portable. You won't see it on the camera, but you might see some lines on here, and this is the protractor. You'll also see a little dot over here, and this is to change from zero resistance to torque resistance. I'll show you that. The other parts of the FEPSim include the counter on here, and then the adjustable torque settings, and I'll show you how to count repetitions as well. Serial information on the bottom here, following FDA and Health Canada regulations, and some suction cups. So I'm going to suction cup this down right now. I'm going to make just a quick adjustment here. Perfect. I can see everybody again. That's great. All right. So we're at zero resistance. That little button is depressed, and I can turn that quite easily. This shaft here will not turn easily. It's still engaged in torque. And we want to make it so you can see that there. I'm turning this is not moving. I want to make it so that we're seeing our patient for the first time. We want to do a little bit of an evaluation and find out exactly how strong they are, right? So let's pick any accessory. I'm going to make one simple because everyone knows what this looks like. And it's a doorknob, right? So I'm going to now set my patient up for success here. I'm going to go to the zero mark on my FEPSim. So I got my zero, my protractor, and it's lined up there. Now it's difficult to see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see what my patient's able to do, and then I'm actually going to set my patient a goal. So I'm going to say, I want your range of motion to be about 15 degrees. I'll put some little marks on there with the dry erase marker. And now I'm going to go back and forth. So I'm going to go to that line, and I'm going to go back to that other line. And as I'm turning that, you can probably hear a slight click. And what that does now is it's counting my repetitions. I've been doing this for quite a while, so I'm at roughly 222. That's fantastic. Okay, so now what we can do is we can turn on my resistance. So my patients come in, I got a range of motion with no resistance element on it using the doorknob. So I got 4 data points now that I can track. I'm going to push this little shaft in, And now I've got resistance. So I'm on setting number 1. And I'm just going to grab a certificate here to show you what that means. All right, so here is a certificate that comes with every FEPSim, and you'll see a correlation on the bottom. These are the settings for the device, so 1 to 8. And then up on the y-axis, you'll see the torque range. So you'll see low at the bottom here, and then less of a progression near the top. And people are using from 1 to 5 typically for that range. All right, so we put on some torque. We're at 4 inch-pounds. We're going to use that again. And now it's a little, well, it's actually quite a bit stronger, especially with my left hand and the way I'm doing this. Therapists are probably going to tell me I'm not doing very well with how I should be using FEPSim, but I got to show you somehow. Awesome. All right, so now my favorite story, and this is that bus driver guy. And typically in our industry, we don't get to see our products in patients' hands. Other than making FEPSim, which is so exciting for us. So I'm at the clinic and I see this bus driver and he looks at me and says, you know, I'm in a setting 3 right now. As soon as I get to like a setting 5, I'm out of here. I go back to work. I cannot wait. So let's go to a setting 5 and we're pretending we're driving the bus. I got to make sure my FEPSim's down all the way. There we go. And I'm driving my bus. So he had a full regime set up by the therapist, and it was so great because all he did is he took his FEPSim set with all the goodies in it, and he literally took it off the shelf, spent 5 minutes with the therapist, had his little sheet of exercises, and he went to town. It was really good. Now that he's got the action book, you can just flip to that page that was suggested by the therapist, scan the code, and then he can start doing the exercises the way the video shows it. All right, let's go to the vertical now, and I'm going to use some attachments that go on the horizontal here. Excuse me 1 second. There we go. Just got to make sure that my computer doesn't do what it did before and decide to grow legs and walk off the table. We're good now. So the throttle grip that goes on the horizontal, we're going to take the larger throttle grip that goes on there and stick it on my vertical. And this is such a useful tool that I've never really thought about too much. And this is where therapists are so creative. Just by taking my finger, so there's my normal grip, but by taking my finger, wow, does that ever change that exercise, right? And so now I've got 2 exercises here that I can do. So Autumn's got a great question there, and we'll definitely answer that at the end. Reese is going to make sure everybody gets that. So on your vertical side, you can see these attachments here. I'm going to now use the screwdriver. So let me show you real quick. We've got a hex and we've got a little star over there, and my screwdriver is going to go in there. So now I've got a little bit of dexterity to work with. I'm going to move my table down again just so I can get it in there and show you. So now it's in. So now I can do this. But how many people actually use a screwdriver like that, right? You're typically using a screwdriver. The way I do it is I'm typically under a car trying to do that. Well, now what you can do is you can actually put FEPSim upside down. And now I can start, there you go, using that screw as I would normally, right? So ultimately, FEPSim can be used in any array that you like. All right, so I don't know where everybody is. Looks like we got some people from New Jersey and Scranton. So hopefully you guys have hockey teams that you're fans of, maybe. Our Edmonton Oilers, they didn't make it too far, unfortunately. They made it far enough. I think they've been using FEPSim to simulate a hockey stick. So there you go. That looks really cool. So I'm going to use my table again. The vertical is really good for weight bearing and work hardening. So I'm just going to take my horizontal off again, stick on my vertical. All right, so I'm sticking my vertical down. I'm going to use my jar lid now, go on top. I'm going to move my camera just a little bit so you can see it. There you go. And now I can go all the way down and really get into that exercise. And if you wanted to, you can go even further. You can put it on the floor, like I said. You can really get your patient to not only use the upper extremity part, but you can get them to start bending and doing other types of activities while they're using their hands. So great for work hardening. Oh my goodness, I feel all my bones cracking now. Thanks, Reese.
Yeah, I know that's important because when I worked in the hospital, it was one thing to kind of push people to increase their range after a wrist fracture or forearm fracture or, issue with the hand, but actually kind of bearing weight and actually doing functional activity where you can actually, it's kind of hard to do without grabbing things from all over the clinic. So I really do feel that, this set of FEPSims really is a time saver. We talked about how easy it is to clean a little bit, right? You just kind of wipe it down with a cloth.
Yep.
When you're done between patients.
Super easy. And I can't say it enough. Maybe it's me and my Toyota background, but being able to have a base, you can quickly and easily see what's missing, right? So jar lid, it goes back.
Yep.
And I've got 3 little spots, and FEPSim goes back. Suction cups go there, and we're good to go.
Yep. You did mention about how portable and lightweight it is, and the fact that it has the bag. But I also, when I used to work at this big acute inpatient hospital, we would sometimes have patients that came down. The patients that were doing better would actually come down to the outpatient therapy department, but actually get like a little bit of inpatient rehab. And sometimes they had bad days, or they had a procedure, or they were just, something was going wrong, and we would be asked to go back up to their bedside and do bedside therapy. And, it was always kind of like, what am I going to stuff in my freaking coat pocket, my jacket pocket to take to them? And obviously it ended up being a piece of TheraBand and a bunch of little gadgets. But just putting a 1 or 2 FEPSims in a bag and taking it up, there's really a lot of activities that they could do from their height adjustable dinner table right in their room. If you got a FEPSim in the room, would you say?
Absolutely. I've always said, you therapists are the most creative bunch out there. It's so awesome.
Yep. And I would even take it a step farther, unlike a BTE, and if those, some facilities out there have BTEs and some don't, but some therapists are also telling us that they can actually bring these in to facilities, and, it could actually be transported between clinics, or like you said, even in home care, in those situations. So the portability factor is really amazing. And of course, the price is a massive advantage. We've got the easy to clean. I really believe it's very efficient to set up. I guess we'll go to questions right now. We're right at 9:30, so I wanted to see if there was any questions. We've got one coming in. How long does it take to deliver to New Jersey location? Oh, so that would just be 2 or 3 days of shipping. Once you place an order, we've got them in the warehouse here in the U.S. They don't come all the way from Canada, because when they do, they take a little bit of time to get through customs, right?
Just a bit, yeah.
Any other questions out there?
I think I saw one about a BTE there. Maybe more of a comment. If you've got a BTE, I mean, they're great, like Reese was saying. But if you can now add to your practice with something like FEPSim, now you can start going to more clinics with FEPSim, for instance. So those clinics that don't necessarily have a BTE, they get the joy of having something portable that does quite a bit. I mean, I don't know the percentage yet, but well over 50-60% of what BTE does. So it's great. I just want to see people happy. They got a smile on their face while they're doing rehab. So it's great.
Yep. Someone makes the point that BTEs are not portable, and that is absolutely true. Someone else asked about what the cost is, and I would just say the retail cost is, I believe, $39.95 each. So for a set, it's under $8,000. But obviously there are different prices for facilities and clinics, and you should probably reach out. Let me actually put that screen share back up so that we have the contact information. So I'll put that back on the page, so that anybody who would like to get a quote can either reach out to their sales rep or call customer service. That's definitely another way to get your facility pricing. Darryl showed it a couple of times, but this is really, really helpful to kind of be able to look through. It actually does come with every unit. So when you purchase a unit, you'll get the action book, but we wanted to be able to provide a digital version of this to help those that were undecided or needed to convince someone else in their organizations. You can email that link on and say, kind of like, look at all the activities that can be done with FEPSim if we move ahead and make this purchase. It's a wonderful device, and we've been selling it for about 1.5 years now, and we hear the most remarkable stories. So we're super excited.
Oh, I honestly love it. I love seeing people's faces, and then scan those codes, because there's a great following on Instagram, and there's a video of me driving over the attachments with the vehicle. So I see in the chat there somebody's asking about warranty. It's one of those things where there's a lot of impact resistance built into this. I've dropped it many times out of the vehicle onto the tarmac, onto the roadway, and no issues there. So sorry, I'm going to probably not pronounce your name properly. I think it's Jeannie. But the warranty side of it, North Coast and FEPSim, we go out of our way to make sure that you're happy. We don't typically repair the units. If something happens, we'll send you a new one. It's usually easy that way. So thank you so much.
We basically just swap them out if there's a problem, because we have the units here.
And that way you don't have, because like you said, Reese, everyone that buys one, they don't want to lose it. So, or share it apparently. So yeah, it's quicker if they get a new one right away.
All right. Well, Darryl, thank you so much for your time today. Everybody that joined this webinar, we really appreciate your time. I think we've kind of addressed all of the questions that came through. So thanks so much. And if anybody's interested in an in-service in their facility, do reach out to the sales@ncmedical.com, the phone number there, the 1-800-821-9319, or send an email to your representative. And we'll get an in-service set up, or even a demo sent out so that you can play with it in your facility. So thanks again for your time. We appreciate it, and look for us on another upcoming webinar.
Thanks so much.
Bye now.
Take care.